to the Venerable Lobsang Gyatso, who had always been an outspoken critic of Shugden practice. 6 young monks from the society tailed Lobsang Gyatso's jeep from Delhi to Dharamsala. Shortly after these, Shugden fundamentalists murdered Lobsang Gyatso and his 2 students. Their bodies bore multiple wounds. Indian police investigators established a clear link between the killers and the Shugden society in Delhi.
We have identified 2 of the murderers.
Wir haben 2 der Mörder identifiziert und wir haben klare Indizien, dass die Täter mit der Shugden-Vereinigung in direkter Verbindung standen.
Linking evidence, which is directly connecting these murderers with the case.
In this interview with the Swiss television, the chief of Kangra police describes evidences linking the 6 murderers to the Shugden society in Delhi. It's confirmed that the 6 murderers have fled to Tibet, where they enjoy Chinese government patronage. On 20th March 1996, just a few days after the murders, the cabinet received a letter signed with the pseudonym Monk Lobsang Chungne of Sera Monastery. The letter begins, "Alas, divisionist Dalai Lama and Samto Rinpoche, chairman of the Tibetan Parliament in exile." Referring to the murders, the letter asks, "Did you enjoy eating the 3 carcasses at the time of Happy Fire Ox Losar this year? The murders took place on the eve of Tibetan New Year. You will be treated," it said, "to many more carcasses if you continue the present course." Shugden activists also sent a caricature like this to the Dharamsala office of His Holiness and to Indian banks and restaurants in town. In April 1996, Lobsang Khedup, secretary of the Tibetan Department of Culture and Religion, and Tempa Soba, representative of the office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, went to Mankot settlement in South India to announce and explain His Holiness's advice on the Shugden practice. One night, a group of 13 Shugden monks made for the officials' room. Sensing their violent intent, local Tibetans cordoned the guest house, but the monks seized a lone guard, threatened death if he raised alarm, and gave him a letter and knife to hand to the officials.
At 12 midnight, there was a knock on our door. We felt suspicious, but then I saw 3 or 4 administrators of Ganden Monastery's Changze College. They said 11 monks from Sera Monastery, dressed in lay clothes, had been seen moving towards Monkot, where we were staying then. The administrators asked us to come to Ganden Monastery for safety. I said nothing would happen to us. The administrators left and I went back to sleep. Later I was told that 15 or 16 volunteers had guarded our guest house that night. When we woke up, the settlement officer told us that 13 monks, 2 in robes and 11 in lay clothes, had attempted to come to our guest house during the night. The monks seized one of the volunteer guards, gagged him and threatened to kill him if he raised alarm. They asked him how many people were guarding us. He said there were many. Then the monks whispered among themselves and finally gave him a letter and knife to hand to us. The letter said, "We were unable to get you this time, but we will get you later."
Some Western Buddhists belonging to Shugden organizations conduct aggressive smear campaigns against His Holiness the Dalai Lama on the internet. They also stage demonstrations against him when he is touring overseas. A month after the letter and knife incident, on the night of 27 May 1996, the house of the Venerable Wangka, former abbot of Changsi College of Ganden Monastery, was set alight and he suffered minor burns. Then, in January 1997, Geshe Tilye Tenzin, treasurer of Changsi College and member of the local assembly in Mankot, was brutally beaten in Delhi. In the same year, there was an arson attack on the rise and hay burns of Changsi College.
Someone grabbed my hand and pulled me to a spot near Ngakpa Chasang in Delhi. He asked me if I was Gentinle. I said yes. The men in front didn't say anything, but someone behind asked me why I interfered in their affairs and why we had held the meeting in Dharamsala. As I turned to look back, I was hit on the head and legs. I fell unconscious. I couldn't figure out who they were. They had fled when I regained consciousness. Now it is quite easy for everyone to understand who set fire to the barns of the monastery. The monks of Changze College support His Holiness and the Tibetan exile government. We have to. The fact that we have achieved so much, despite being in a foreign land, is due to their efforts. In appreciation of this, we have taken a firm stand. Some people are unhappy with our loyalty, so they set fire to the barns of the monastery.
When Kelsang Yishi, then a minister, and Sangdo Rinpoche, chairman of the Tibetan parliament, went to Ganden and Sera monasteries to announce and explain His Holiness the Dalai Lama's counsel on Shugden practice, they were greeted by one of the saddest scenes in the history of exiled Tibetans. About 300 monks, guided by Shugden activists, demonstrated against the officials, alleging that the Tibetan exile government denied them freedom of religion and expression.
The Assembly resolution was not an order for people to stop Shugden practice. It was merely a request and not a demand or an order or a law to end the practice. The resolution said that since the practice of Shugden was harmful to the life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan national cause, the Assembly of Tibetan People's Deputies would request all Tibetans to stop it in deference to the advice of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. The resolution went on to say that those not willing to give up Shugden practice should not receive teachings from His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So this was in fact a resolution in the form of a request. This issue has nothing to do with human rights. It is a matter of how a particular religion must be practiced. If this were construed as a violation of human rights, then it would not be possible to give advice to on the practice of any religion in the world.
Evidence has come to light confirming a close connection between Shugden activists and the Chinese government in Beijing. On 22 November 1996, Kangchen Rinpoche, representative of the Shugden Society in Italy, paid respects to the Beijing-appointed Panchen Lama in China and pledged support to him. The Panchen Lama, recognized by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, meanwhile, remains under house arrest at an unknown location in China. Using antics like this, Kangchen Rinpoche deceives his Western followers. The perpetrators of the triple murder in Dharamsala are now enjoying the protection and patronage of the Chinese government in Tibet. The authorities in the so-called Tibet Autonomous Region published a handbook of religious education, which claims that the Dalai clique's ban is employed to make Shugden practice a spent force and scapegoat. The handbook goes on to claim that this ban has shown the insincerity